The West and the Quran. The publication of this book was prompted by the Manchester Arena Islamic terror attack on the 22nd of May 2017.
Britain's Prime Minister calls the suicide bombing at an Ariana Grande concert in Manchester, England, a callous terrorist attack. And police believe they know who did it. You can hear the bomb go off and see the panic unfold in video taken from inside the Manchester Arena.
Oh my God. What's going on? What just happened? What's going on? Oh my God!
The explosion happened as people were leaving the concert. Thousands of young people scrambled to get away from the scene.
Officials say 22 people died in Britain's worst terrorist attack since the 2005 transit attacks in London. 59 others were wounded. Police say the lone bomber was also killed in the attack.
President Trump reacted this morning after meeting the Palestinian Authority president in the West Bank.
So many young, beautiful, innocent people living and enjoying their lives murdered by evil losers in life. I won't call them monsters because they would like that term. They would think that's a great name. I will call them from now on losers because that's what they are. They're losers.
Britain's Prime Minister Theresa May expressed her country's horror and resolve.
All acts of terrorism are cowardly attacks on innocent people. But this attack stands out for its appalling, sickening cowardice, deliberately targeting innocent, defenseless children and young people who should have been enjoying one of the most memorable nights of their lives.
And now, on the 20th of August 2020, Hassim, who was arrested in Libya, refused to leave his cell for sentencing, was sentenced to a minimum 55 years in prison. A copy of this book, The West and the Quran, was personally given to Tommy Robinson at the launch of his book, Muhammad's Quran, in that year, in order to assist his cause and enlighten him as to the greater cause, as taught in the Gospel of our Lord Jesus Christ. This publication treats the subject of the Quran, and the reason for presenting this is due to the rise in Islamic terrorism, which has caused great concern to many in the West. So, with the current massive influx of Muslims migrating from the various parts of the world into Europe, Great Britain and the USA, it seems reasonable to discover the roots of Islam in order to deal with the problems that have occurred. Our politicians seem clueless on how to deal with this enemy, and when they are questioned, they appear to know relatively little about Muhammad and his teaching. Likewise, Christians seem ignorant of its content, and so are unable to defend themselves or protect others from the errors taught by Muhammad. One of our greatest prime ministers in Britain, William Gladstone, declared that the Quran was an accursed book, and once held a copy up of Muhammad's Quran in the Parliament, declaring, "As long as there is this book, there will be no peace in the world." Winston Churchill was one of the greatest leaders of the 20th century who served as Prime Minister in the United Kingdom during the Second World War, and again in 1951 to 1955. As an officer of the British Army in 1897 and 1898, he fought against the Pushtun tribes in the northwest frontier of British India, and also at the Battle of Omdurman in Sudan. In both of these conflicts, he had eye-opening encounters with Muslims. These incidences allowed his keen powers of observation and always fluid pen to weigh in on the subject of Islamic society. Whilst these words were written when he was only 25 years old, 1899, they serve as a prophetic warning to Western civilization today. How dreadful are the curses which Mohammedanism, Islam, lays upon its votaries. Besides the fanatical frenzy, which is as dangerous in a man as hydrophobia in a dog, there is this fearful, fatalistic apathy. Churchill apparently witnessed the same phenomenon in several places he visited. The effects are apparent in many countries. Improvident habits, slovenly systems of agriculture, sluggish methods of commerce, and insecurity of property exists wherever the followers of the prophet rule or live. He saw the temporal and eternal tainted by their belief system. A degraded sensualism deprives this life of its grace and refinement, the next of its dignity and sanctity, he wrote. The second-class status of women also grated at the young officer. The fact that in Mohammedan law every woman must belong to some man as his absolute property, either as a child, a wife or concubine, must delay the final extinction of slavery until the faith of Islam has ceased to be the greater power among men, he noted. Individual Muslims may show splendid qualities, but the influence of the religion paralyses the social development of those who follow it. No stronger retrograde force exists in the world. Well before the birth of modern Israel, its terror tactics and drive for world domination were felt. Far from being moribund, Mohammedanism is a militant, proselyting faith. It has already spread throughout Central Africa, raising fearless warriors at every step. And were it not that Christianity is sheltered in the strong arms of science, the science against which it, Islam, has vainly struggled, the civilization of modern Europe might fall, as fell the civilization of ancient Rome. With the influx of Muslim people from the various parts of the continent, along with their culture, all of which is shaped by the teachings of Muhammad in his Quran, some objections and observations are as follows. Islam means submission. Islam does not mean peace. Multiculturalism is a failure. Islam denies the natural rights of women. An objection, halal meat. An objection to Sharia law. Objects to female genital mutilation, FGM. An objection to jihad, which seeks to overthrow Western culture through education, social activity, political activation and law. For this reason, this publication is made available for education purposes, with this prayer that God may grant us all wisdom as to how we may respond to the rise and threat of Islam.